So we go to verse 13 of chapter 12 in Luke's Gospel. And someone in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the family inheritance with me." But he said to him, "Man, who appointed me judge or arbitrator over you?" And a couple of times I've been asked to do that, and I said, "No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to be an arbitrator between disputes of people in the community. It's not my job, if it's to do with money particularly." And he said to them, "Beware and be on your guard against every form of greed, for not even when one has an abundance does life consist of possessions." And he told them a parable, saying, "The land of a certain rich man was very productive, and he began reasoning to himself, saying, 'What shall I do, since I have no place to store my crops?' And he said, 'This is what I will do. I will tear down my barns and build larger ones, and there I will store all my grain and my goods. And I will say to my soul, Soul, you have many goods laid up for many years to come. Take your ease, eat, drink, and be merry.' But God said to him, 'You fool, this very night your soul is required of you. And now who will own what you have prepared? So is the man who lays up treasure for himself and is not rich towards God.'" Now that's a very important phrase, rich towards God. So this is about generosity. It's not about money, it's about generosity firstly towards God. So what we're doing in here, where we're praying that we would have a heart for God, first of all. That's what we're doing. So we have generosity towards God. And then generosity towards broken humanity, so they would know Christ. So this parable is beyond the few $1,000s that we need. It has to do with our heart. The question we have to ask is, are we rich towards God? That's the question. So that has to do with a lot of things. With prayer, with time we give to God, how we allocate our time. Do we put God in first in our week, in our day? How do we operate there? Are we rich towards God? If our time is spent totally on our finances or how we're going to live, then the parable is saying don't do that. Spend time with God. You still have to be a good steward. It's not an excuse for being a bad steward, okay? This is not about stewardship. Stewardship is expected here. You've got to be a good steward with your money, because if he can't trust you with small thing, that tiny thing, he can't trust you with bigger things. But in our heart, where's our heart lie? So that's what Jesus said in this parable. He said, if you're usually spending all your time trying to earn a living and worried about building a house and all those things, and you have no time for God, then you're in trouble, because you've got to be rich towards God. And he said to his disciples, "For this reason I say to you, do not be anxious for your life as to what you are to eat, nor for your body as to what you shall put on. For life is more than food, and the body more than clothing." Or in this other translation it says, "A man's life does not consist in what he owns." So that's it there. That's the lesson. So God is asking us to be generous again, primarily to be generous to Him, to be generous towards people who don't know God particularly. Okay. and then generous to God. Because, you know, again, if tithing, we've heard so many talks about tithing. And tithing is tithing. It's got nothing to do with special collections, land. And I know people take money out of tithe to put in these other appeals. Well, don't do that, please, because you're not going to get blessed. And don't give to the other things if you don't want to. But tithing is something that has a blessing attached to it when we tithe. It's in Malachi. We don't rob God, otherwise we bring a curse on ourselves. So that's all I want to say. I know there's a New Testament teaching which overrides that, which is give everything. Technically, everything belongs to God, not just the 10%. And I've been convicted myself in a way in this way that, again, everything I have belongs to God. It doesn't belong to me. I'm simply a steward. My first job, I worked in a bank in Blacktown. And one of my jobs every day, in those days, was I had to return the checks to the other banks. You know, the other banks, there were 7, I think, at the time, or 8, I can't remember. And so I used to go, I was working for the Westpac Bank, I used to go to all the other banks and hand over their checks. It's a bit like that. It would have been great if all that was, it was in my hands, but I didn't own any of it. I just was a postman, as a messenger. So we too are like that. We have to manage what we have well and responsibly, not irresponsibly. It's not an excuse for being a bad steward, but at the same time, it doesn't belong to me. It doesn't belong to us. It's on loan, and I've got to use it wisely. And I've got to use it primarily to build the kingdom of God, not my own kingdom.